Welcome into the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steven, and it's time for the Week 8 running back rankings. That's right, folks. We're already up to Week 8. Insanity. So on the screen, you are seeing my rankings is the order that we're going to go through them, but you can also see the projections up on the screen, and you can find my rankings and the projections up on the website, www.theFFForge.com. There are links in the description to each of the rankings. Those should be live, ready to go, right to the rankings for each position down in the description below. And if this is a little too busy for you, totally fine. I understand. You can just click on the bottom tab. You'll see that on the website. This little tab here is available to click on, and that'll just bring you to a little bit of a simplified version of the rankings. So with that said, let's just kick it off with this first tier of rankings here from running backs 1 through 5. Now you got the color key. You understand red is good, blue is bad for everything except for the players and the matchup, which I have the top 5, bottom 5. I think it's top 6 and bottom 5, actually, highlighted in green for good and red for bad. So we'll get to the player highlights, but first tier here starts off with my number 1 kicker of the week, Derrick Henry, followed by Ken Walker, Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, and Breece Hall. As a reminder, these rankings will get updated throughout the week as we get onto the second tier. So you can find the updated rankings up on the website. You can also find them live with me here on YouTube. I go live Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do have to report for court duty Thursday morning. I don't think that should interfere, but you never know. That could push things back. That could make it a little bit of a sloppy start, etc. on Thursday evening this week. Hopefully no longer than that. If I get assigned a jury, a court, a trial, and that goes on, that could, of course, mess with things going into the future for the short term. So heads up on that. Also, I go live Saturdays I'm changing the time to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we go until we're done. And then Sunday mornings, 2 hours prior to kickoff, I'm also here for your last-minute updates and, start-sit kinds of questions. And I have all of the updated rankings up on the screen as well throughout those. So my second tier of running backs this week is going to kick off with Kyren Williams, followed by Jahmyr Gibbs, Kareem Hunt, Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, and J.K. Dobbins wraps this tier up as my running back 14, and there isn't a whole lot to talk about in terms of the running backs here. I'm not going out on too big of a limb with too many, if anybody, any people. Currently, pretty in line with the average expert on basically everybody in the top 30-something running backs that we're going to go through in this video. I do have another 20-something running backs ranked that you can find up on the website if you are in a deeper league types of situations, etc. So in this instance, like I said, the green over here, these are good matchups. So just to highlight some of the best matchups of the week, Breece Hall, Ken Walker, Jordan Mason, and J.K. Dobbins himself going up against New Orleans, all in excellent matchups. Jonathan Taylor going to be coming back potentially this week. I'm currently ranking him and the other Indianapolis wide receiver running backs as if he is coming back. So not a guarantee there, but tougher matchup. Houston, one of the actual worst running back matchups across the season so far. So I am a little bit concerned overall with that situation of him coming back, maybe a little bit of limited use in a tougher matchup, and that is why I do have him a little bit lower than you'll typically find him across the season compared to how he's performed so far when he's been healthy. As far as J.K. Dobbins, he is my love of the week. Which reminds me, I got to let you know how I did with my Week 7 loves and fades. Loves and fades, it's the same idea as a start and a sit. Obviously, the loves being my start suggestions. So, Week 7, I also loved J.K. Dobbins. We're going to see a little bit of a couple of repeats, actually, for my loves and fades for a second week in a row. J.K. Dobbins, I was truly shocked that he did not have a better day, hoping for better days this week against New Orleans. He finished as running back 29, so that definitely does not cut it for a love. And Alexander Mattison was my second love last week. I did end up pushing him back a little bit in the rankings due to Zamir White coming back, but I still had expected him to score the most fantasy points in that backfield, etc. And with that, Alexander Mattison had a running back 18 finish. That was a success for where, compared to where other people had him ranked, etc. He was a startable option. guy who a lot of people probably didn't start. So that was great. And, like I said, I even anticipated no Zamir White. That might have been a couple more opportunities for him had that been the case. In terms of my fades, I faded David Montgomery last week. He finished as a running back 35. So for a guy who's been a top 2 running back on the season, that was an excellent choice to fade him last week, and as you see, he's not up here yet this week again. And then I also faded James Conner, who finished as the running back 15. I was a little bit hesitant on that one, and I asked you not to go crazy with that fade. Don't start, pay attention to where I had him ranked, which was probably a little bit lower than running back 15, but not to go crazy. I think I said don't go crazy and start and try a Dare Ogunbowale on a hunch or anything like that over him, because that would not have worked. James Conner had a good day. That was a failure of a fade. This week, we're going to look to do a little bit better than that 50-50. Not the worst there, not the best. So let's get on to this third tier of running backs, which actually, there was one more running back in this tier I should have checked. That was Josh Jacobs here going up against Jacksonville. Still struggling with the projections, still not loving Josh Jacobs as much as a lot of other players, but we see the matchup gauge here, nice bright hot red there, expecting good things for Josh Jacobs against Jacksonville. That does bring us on to a smaller third tier here, beginning at my running back 16 with DeAndre Hopkins, followed by Devon Achane, James Conner, and Alvin Kamara. We will see James Conner going up against Miami. That is a good matchup. Did I explain why J.K. Dobbins is a love of mine this week? I don't think so. Basically, I just said that I'm going back to well on this, almost without blinking an eye. There is a little bit of nervousness on the J.K. Dobbins love of the week again after he burned me last week, but New Orleans defense has fallen apart these past couple of weeks, and they have become a good running back matchup. I'm a little bit surprised by that, but at this point, what's going to change in that defense, on that offense, whatever the case, to end up changing that fact. So I'm going with it. We're going to go with J.K. Dobbins as one of my loves this week. James Conner, really good matchup against Miami this week as well, so that's good. We'll see how much that continues to be the case, though, with Tua coming back. That's going to put more stress on teams to score more against them and maybe be a little less, have the ability to run less if Miami's putting up points against them again. Let's bring us on to my first fade of the week here, though. Alvin Kamara going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is going to be kind of a funky fade for me because I'm about to essentially sell you on why I'm not ranking him even lower than this. First of all, we all know that Alvin Kamara is coming off of his worst week of the season, and that the Chargers have allowed the third fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs in half PPR scoring. A repeat bad week is very much possible against the Los Angeles Chargers. But let me introduce to you to something that we like to call the silver lining. In 2 matchups with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, Spencer has still targeted Alvin Kamara heavily, 7 targets and 8 targets. Actually, 8 targets and 7 targets, respectively, from 2 games ago to 1 game ago. One of those games, Alvin Kamara did well in. The other, last week, he did not do so well in. The weakness of the LA Chargers defense, you ask, where opponents have attacked them from the running back position with regularity, has been through the air. Teams have targeted running backs the 4th most against the Chargers compared to any other team in the league, and those running backs on the receiving end have caught the 4th most balls against the Chargers. And I would like to say, round peg meet round hole. It sounds so weird. You're so used to saying round peg meet square hole, but no, this is a perfect fit here for Alvin Kamara to have a good day. Am I expecting a massive ceiling type of day? Not really. I don't, the odds of Alvin Kamara coming away with more than 1 touchdown with Spencer Rattler at the quarterback position aren't necessarily great, especially in this matchup. But I do think that the floor is still quite a bit in contact here for Alvin Kamara. Don't let last week scare you too much. But also, there's some good running back matchups this week that you can take advantage of, so it depends what your running back room looks like. That's going to bring us on to my 5th tier. And before we get into this tier, because this tier is the tier where I expect the most movement to occur. I'll give you a little bit of time to look at that and absorb that while I let you know how you can be the winner of that $10 gift card that I teased at the beginning of the video. And it's pretty simple. Just you're going to have to come Saturday for that live session, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to give you some sort of hashtag. You put it in chat, and then I'm thinking 9 or 9:30, and I'll make this all known in, the little description at the top of the video that I'll have it pinned. Everybody I'm going to have to manually keep track of this because I don't know how else to do it. I'm sure there's a better way. But I will just manually keep track of everybody who has put the hashtag in. I'll do the drawing at a certain time. You got to be there to claim the gift card, and then email me. Let me know, hey, I am the one who won. I am so-and-so. And we will get that figured out. There you go. That's how you can get the $10 gift card. My mind just totally blanked out for a little bit. Let's get on to finishing up these running back rankings. I think I've done all the announcements, so it's just rankings from here on out. Running back 20, I have David Montgomery this week. My second fade, followed by Brian Robinson, Tank, Bigsby, Chuba, Hubbard, Tony, Pollard, Najee Harris, and Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, my second love of the week, also in a very good matchup against Carolina. Tony Pollard in a very rough matchup against Detroit. And as you can see for the second week in a row, David Montgomery on the cutting board as a fade. Don't be afraid to sit David Montgomery this week. Kind of a little bit of a different tone, right? There's a bit of a tier drop off here as well to David Montgomery. He is almost certainly going to need to find the end zone in order to have a really good day in another matchup that really limits what he does best. Tennessee, very good against the run. One of the best teams in the league in terms of, preventing the other team from having good efficiency on the ground specifically. So this is just like last week. It really lines up almost exactly like that, maybe even a little bit more in terms of it being a tougher David Montgomery matchup. So that is why we're going to be a little bit low on him. But also, he was fairly efficient last week in a really tough matchup. It's not out of the realm to think that he could fall into the end zone either. I mean, that's what Detroit does. Outside of that, Brian Robinson in a tougher matchup against Chicago. Not the worst matchup, though. They're much better through the air this season. Their run defense has been susceptible. Tank Bigsby going to be going up against Green Bay. Average matchup there. Chuba Hubbard, not the greatest matchup against Detroit. Tony Pollard, really, really tough matchup. Against Denver. Tony Pollard, Detroit. Najee Harris going up against New York Giants. Kind of an average matchup deal here. And like I said, all these could be shifted around. I could get Javonte up to the top of this tier because Javonte is in a really, really good matchup. My second love of the week. He's only being started in about 50% of leagues. Carolina is by far the worst, or best, I should say, running back matchup. The worst team against the run, allowing an average of 30 fantasy points to the running back position in half PPR scoring. And there's a 4-point spread between that and the second best running back matchup. To give you an idea, there are 15 teams who allow between 21 and 17 fantasy points. That is also a 4-point spread, roughly going around the league average amount of fantasy points allowed half PPR scoring. I know that Javonte Williams is hard to trust. That's why he's still being sat in quite a few leagues. But when you put in him in good running back matchups so far this season, Javonte has come through with good to great days. Going up against Las Vegas in Week 5 and then New Orleans last week, he came through for you once again with a good to great day. And if you were to sprinkle a touchdown on top of that Las Vegas performance in Week 5, that suddenly would have gone from a good day to a very good day. So he didn't even get the touchdown, and he still had a good day. So you can see why we would get excited about Javonte Williams. And I don't know how high I'm going to be able to get him. I still don't fully trust him. But in this matchup, I don't expect him to fail, completely. Give me at least 8 fantasy points, I think, is like a minimum here. Should be able to get that for you. So that's not, I know that doesn't sound fantastic, but that's far from bad, especially half PPR. That's going to bring us on to this next tier of running backs. The final tier in this video, starting off at running back 27, is Chase Brown, Alexander Mattison, Rachaad White, Ramondre Stevenson, Bucky Irving, and Rico Dowdle to fill out this tier. Going to running back 32, you can see several tough matchups. Alexander Mattison going up against Kansas City, Rachaad White going up against Atlanta, and on the other end there, Bucky Irving going up against Atlanta. Not too great of matchups there. You can see Rachaad White, the floor seems to be quite intact yet here, for whatever reason, still liking that for the projections, but not overly excited, and still, I think the saving grace here a little bit with those wide receiver injuries, that should help Rachaad White, Cade Otton, possibly the most out of the remaining guys on this offense. And so I think that's a little bit of where this floor is coming from, because I did give him like 2 more target opportunities compared to norm, which is what would have helped. Bucky Irving got that too, though, a little bit. Maybe I think 1 more for him since he's used much less in the past. All right, that is it then for the running back rankings this week. Once again, there are more ranked. You can see them all. Teaser. There we go. All up on the website. And thank you very, very much for tuning in. Hope to see you Saturday. Win that gift card. All right, peace out.